Welcome to this deep dive, and this one's different. A poem called Daddy's Got You, Zebulan. You know, we usually dig into research and reports and all that, but today we're going right into the heart of a father's love for his son through poetry. It's really something. It's a tearjerker. Written by Ernie Young DeHerrera. And the thing is, he started writing it way back in 2014, but didn't finish until 2017.
Wow.
Yeah, there's this like mystery around that gap, you know, like something big happened in their lives.
Yeah, that 3-year pause, it definitely adds a whole other layer to the poem. Like there's a deeper story going on behind the words.
Right. Okay, so to set the stage, the poem was written to his son Zebulan. And those opening lines, man, they just hit you right in the feels. It starts with, Daddy's got you 22 12s and all. Mm-hmm. Daddy's got you when you teetered to fall.
There's just this powerful sense of protection in those lines, reassurance that Daddy's got you over and over. It almost feels like a promise, you know, a declaration, unwavering love, but also maybe a vulnerability. Like Zebulan really needed that extra reassurance.
Yeah, I felt that too, like a mix of strength and tenderness. And then he adds, Daddy's got you in his sombrero, singing you to sleep. So sweet.
Right.
But I'm curious about the cultural stuff he uses, like sombrero and Torito and Luchador. What do you think those add to the poem? Emotionally, I mean.
Well, those terms, they're not just like colorful additions or anything. They actually tell us something about the father, his background, his culture, and the values he wants for his son. Torito, meaning little bull. And then you've got Luchador, my fighter. These terms often have this sense of pride, strength, you know, in Latino families. So it makes you think he's raising Zebulan with a strong connection to his heritage, maybe even like preparing him to face challenges.
Yeah, it's almost like he's shaping Zebulan's identity through those words, right?
Exactly. There's this beautiful layer of cultural inheritance in the poem.
Okay, so we've got this strong protective father figure. But then the mood shifts. When Daddy misses you, Zebulan, oh, so much. I look at you in your Brerro so I don't lose touch.
Yeah.
Now we know they're separated. What's your take on this? Why is the father holding on to this Brerro, which we know is a hat?
It's just heartbreaking. You know, he's holding on to this hat, this object, as a way to stay connected, to bridge the distance. There's a deep sense of loss there, a real longing to connect. And we often find comfort in objects that remind us of loved ones, especially when we're separated. It's like a physical manifestation of his love and longing for Zebulan.
It really makes you wonder what caused this separation.
Right.
And have you ever had something like that? Like an object that connects you to someone you miss?
Oh, for sure. It's such a powerful way to feel connected, even when you're apart. It speaks to how deep human emotions run and that need for tangible reminders of love and belonging, I think.
Then the poem gets even more intense. The laments of torture they have caused from taking you from me. He's not holding back the pain, is he? What do you think about that raw emotion?
He's just clearly in anguish. You can feel it. It reveals how deep his suffering is from the separation, and he doesn't hide it. He uses torture to convey the intensity of his feelings. You know, it really sets the stage for what comes next.
And then he uses this metaphor. Two daddy were two peas in a pod, dos lobos desesperados. Two desperate wolves. Why that imagery, do you think?
The Dos Lobos Desesperados, it's just so striking, so visual. It's more than just sadness, it's deeper. Wolves are all about the pack, right? Loyalty, they howl to communicate across distances. So by saying he and Zebulan are desperate wolves, he's expressing this primal feeling of being incomplete, separated from his pack.
And then he says, without you, Yeho Daddy has no howl. Like his very essence, his voice is gone without Zebulan.
Absolutely. That howl, it's not just sound, it's connection, belonging, purpose. Without his son, he's lost. He can't fully express himself or find his place. It shows how deep their bond is and how Zebulan being gone has changed him deeply.
It makes me rethink those Daddy's Gotcha lines from the beginning. It's not just reassurance. It's more like a desperate plea, a way of holding on to their connection even though they're apart.
That's really insightful. The repetition takes on a whole new meaning. Yeah, when you see it through the lens of their separation.
And we still haven't addressed the elephant in the room, that 3-year gap in writing the poem. What do you think it says about the father? His journey, I mean.
Well, it could mean the separation wasn't simple, you know? Or temporary. Maybe it was sudden, a loss he couldn't process. 3 years, that's a long time to carry this pain, this feeling of being incomplete. It says a lot about his love for Zebulan and how much the separation really affected him.
Yeah, it's like he put all his grief and longing into the poem and needed time to, regroup before he could go on.
It really shows how much art can, how do I say this, how it can be tied to our experiences, reflect what we go through, the good and the bad.
Okay, so let's move to that last stanza where he talks about them being together again. He writes, "When Daddy gets you back, and gets you back soon, you and Daddy will wear our Brerros and howl with love and happiness in our hearts at the moon." Quote, quote. It's like the sun coming out after a storm. How does this ending change the feeling of the poem?
It changes the whole poem from just sadness to hope. It's bittersweet, you know. It acknowledges the pain, the separation, but it holds on to that belief that they'll be together again. That image of them howling at the moon with their Brerros, it's so powerful.
All right, it gives me chills. What do you think about that image? The howling at the moon.
It's like a return to being whole, you know, reclaiming that shared identity. The moon, people associate it with dreams and longing, right? So here becomes a symbol of their future happiness, the place where they can finally howl together, united by love and their heritage.
And he emphasizes love and happiness in our hearts. It's not just about being physically together, right?
Yeah.
It's deeper than that.
Right, he wants a connection that's deeper than just being near each other. It shows the impact Zebulan has on him. Emotionally, I mean, like on who he is as a person.
And he ends with "te amo," which is "I love you" in Spanish.
Right.
It's like this final declaration of his love, you know, unwavering.
It's a simple phrase, but so powerful. It reminds us that even when things are really bad, love is still there, you know? It gives you hope, a promise of a better future.
This poem has taken us on such a journey. A father's love, the pain of being apart, and then hope. It's incredible.
It's a beautiful example of how poetry can take complex emotions and put them into such a powerful form. It reminds us that we're not alone in our experiences with love, loss, and longing.
It makes you think about how we all experience separation in different ways throughout life. It could be distance from loved ones, a broken relationship, or even feeling disconnected from a part of ourselves, you know.
That's a deep connection you've made. The poem goes beyond just this father and son. It talks about something universal. We all have those things, those people, those howls that we miss. And finding our way back to them can be tough, but it's so important.
Speaking of howls, that really stuck with me. What does it mean to you, and how can our listener relate that to their own life?
The howl, it's what's missing, what we long for. That empty space inside us that needs to be filled. It could be something creative we've ignored, a relationship that's faded, a dream we've put aside, or even a part of ourselves we've lost touch with.
And finding that howl, getting that missing piece back, it takes looking inward, courage, and being willing to step outside our comfort zones.
You got it. It's about finding what makes us happy, what gives us purpose, makes us feel whole, and then taking those steps, maybe small ones, to get back to those things, even if it's scary at first.
So to our listener, think about what your howl is right now. What's missing in your life that's making you feel incomplete, like something's not quite right. What would it take to find that howl again? What steps, big or small, can you take today to start that journey?
It's a journey, not a destination, and it won't always be easy, but the rewards of finding those missing pieces, they're huge.
This deep dive has shown us how poetry can make us feel things and also make us look inward and discover things about ourselves. Who knew a short poem could be so powerful?
It reminds us that art can be like a mirror, reflecting our own experiences and helping us understand ourselves and the world better.
And sometimes those artistic things can help us find our own voices, our own howls, and reconnect with what really matters.
Wow, it's amazing, isn't it? How a single poem can spark such deep conversations and get you thinking, you know? We've talked about so much today, father's love, the culture, the symbolism, it's all in there. Yeah, and what's really striking is how Daddy's Got You, Zebulan manages to be both personal and universal at the same time. It's like, whether you're a parent or a child or just someone trying to figure life out, there's something in this poem that connects with us with our own experiences of connection and separation and longing, you know?
It's like Ernie Young DeHerrera, he tapped into something really basic about being human, you know what I mean? He captured those raw emotions that we all feel no matter where we come from or what we're going through.
And he did it so simply, so honestly. There's no fancy language, no trying to be something he's not, just pure emotion right there on the page.
I think that's why it's so powerful. It feels real, vulnerable, and ultimately so human, right?
Exactly. And even though the poem is about a father and son, it also touches on these bigger ideas of identity, heritage, resilience.
Yeah, the way he uses those Spanish terms like Torito and Luchador, it adds another layer of meaning. It's not just about love, it's about passing down a culture, instilling a sense of pride, belonging.
It shows how powerful language and traditions can be, shaping who we are and how we connect with the world. And it reminds us that even when we're apart from loved ones, those shared experiences, those values, They can keep us connected over time and distance.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Daddy's Got You, Zebulon, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. We've talked about finding our own howl, those missing pieces that make us feel whole. But what happens after we find it? How do we bring that howl into our lives, let it guide us,
That's a great question to think about. I think it's about embracing that feeling of wholeness and letting it influence our choices, our relationships, how we express ourselves. It's about sharing that howl with the world, maybe through art, music, writing, even just acts of kindness, or being more present in our everyday lives.
It's about making that howl a part of who we are, not just something we look for, but something we live.
You got it. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. There will be times when we feel lost, disconnected. But if we stay connected to our howl, to those connections and passions that make us feel alive, we can handle those tough times with more strength and purpose.
So to our listeners, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep howling. Your voice matters. The world needs to hear it.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Daddy's Got You, Zebulan, by a Yehudi Latin Autistic father with love for his beloved son Zebulan, by Ernie Young DeHerrera. Daddy's got you, Zebulan. Daddy's got you 22 and a half inches and all. Daddy's got you when you teeter to fall. Daddy's got you in his sombrero, singing you to sleep. Daddy's tucking in his Torito, kissing each precious cheek. Daddy's had you, Zebulan, since I delivered you from the birth canal. Daddy's got you in his heart, every moment I breathe, my best pal. Daddy is your biggest fan, mi Luchador, your daddy's hero, my right-hand man. When Daddy misses you, Zebulan, oh so much, I look at you in your Brerro so I don't lose touch. My Superman, my Mr. Amazing, my all right, Outasight, Dynomite young man. Daddy loves you, Zebulan, Adagio, Luchador, young DeHerrera, with all that I am. To Daddy, we're two peas in a pod. Dos los Desesperados. Without you, hijo, Daddy has no how. Daddy is holding it all in with a whimper and strength somehow. Lamenting in my heart, what little crack I will not let be seen. The laments of torture they have caused from taking you from me. As Daddy keeps it together, for you, my little bean, Daddy still got you, Zebulan, and that will always be. When Daddy gets you back, and gets you back soon, you and Daddy will wear our Brerros and howl with love and happiness in our hearts at the moon. Te amo, hijo. Zebulan Adagio, young DeHerrera. Daddy, Papa loves you. Written by Ernie Young DeHerrera to his son Zebulan Adagio Young DeHerrera. This poem was started on August 13th, 2014, the day of Zebulan's birth, and finished on January 27th, 2017.